Hello and welcome. This is NTA Tuesday Live, and I'm Cyril Stober. Payment of workers' salaries is an obligation on the employer to the employee, be it in the private or public sector. This is, however, far from the reality of today in Nigeria. Employers of labor, including many of the 36 states of the Federation, owe workers between 1 and 9 months in unpaid salaries. More still, stories of slashed salaries in some instances of up to 30 or 50%, and the non-payment of leave grants, pensions, and other workers' entitlements are trending across the land. Now, some states are quick to say that workers on grade levels 1 to 7 are paid full salaries, and that only those on grade levels 12 and above receive 50% of their salaries. But there is apprehension over the fallouts of the non-payment of salaries, and many people have raised questions. Among those questions are, what have states done with the federal government bailout funds, which they feel should have gone to pay the salaries of workers? Also, do states no longer generate internal revenues? Where is the place of dignity in labor? And some have also asked what happened to the Paris Club refunds, which some states have collected and nothing has happened. Now, these are some of the issues we'll be raising tonight with a distinguished panel here on NTA Tuesday Live. Let's introduce you to our guests tonight. We're joined here by Shetima Umar Abbagana, who's acting chairman of the Revenue Mobilization, Allocation and Fiscal Commission. Thanks for being with us here tonight. Okay. We also have with us here Mr. Inyamali John Audu, who's acting director, Trade Union Services and Industrial Relations, the Federal Ministry of Labor and Employment. Thanks for being with us. Let me also welcome tonight Engineer Moses Adewi, who's the Oluju of Iludnueje in Kwara State. He's a member of the Association of Contributory Pensioners of Nigeria. Thanks for being with us here.
Thank you very much.
And let me also welcome to this program Comrade Isa Aremu. He's a member of the National Executive Council of the Nigeria Labour Congress, the Secretary General of Textile and Garment Workers Union, and the Vice President, Industrial Global Union. Comrade, thanks for being here tonight.
It's a pleasure of being here.
All right. The questions are clear tonight, and we're going to start looking at why so many Nigerian workers in these days go home feeling so sad without their entitlements. Even the scriptures talk about a worker deserving his wages. So let's begin with the acting chairman of the Revenue Mobilization, Allocation and Fiscal Commission, Shetima Umar Abbagana. Is it that Nigeria can no longer pay its workforce?
Well, thank you very much. Nigeria can pay its workers. Nigeria, although we must accept the fact that the recession, which is caused by the collapse in the international price of crude, has put a lot of strain on both federal and states' revenues. So it is to be understood that there's a lot of stress in the system. There's no doubt about that. With the funds released, of course, it is expected that quite a lot of these benefits should have gone down to most of the workers. What the Revenue Commission has done in terms of assessing what states have been doing, we found two things that states have been doing in various degrees of success. One is to reduce or weed out ghost workers, which virtually all the states have been trying to do in various degrees of success, of course, and also reducing their cost of governance. Virtually all the states have also begun to look at increasing their IGRs, internal generated revenue, again with varying degrees of success, simply because not all the states have the same economic capabilities. States like Lagos and Kano, Rivers, for example, Akwa Ibom have a greater, and Ogun, for example, have a greater capacity. Kaduna State have a greater capacity to increase their IGR because of their economic and industrial base. So quite a lot of work has been done by states. We must commend that, but there's quite a lot that has to be done still by states to increase their IGRs and also to utilize whatever revenues they have wisely. The issue of ghost workers has been very, very difficult because it requires a lot of biometric examination of virtually all the workers, and virtually all the states, about more than 20, have already weeded out a lot of ghost workers. Even the federal has done that too.
All right.
All right. That's the beginning of bringing down the cost of governance to enable whatever revenues available to pay for workers' salaries and wages.
All right. It's a good thing you talked about what's referred to now as ghost workers. There's still a lot we'll talk about these ghost workers, and at some point in the program we'll be trying to find out if we will need some spiritual intervention in this issue of ghost workers, because it's a recurring decimal in the country. But let's go over to the Acting Director of Trade Union Services and Industrial Relations, Federal Ministry of Labor and Employment.
Okay, thank you very much, host. The issue of non-payment of worker salary is, I think, has been overflowed by persons. I think it's the willpower of the governors to pay salary. Payment of salary is one of the most important things I think workers should be paid with. They should be given their, because a workman is entitled to his wages. It's the states are generating, they're generating fund, money, internal revenue, but I don't just understand why state governors cannot make it. It's a matter of arranging your priorities and pay workers their dues. And I tell you, if this is done effectively, there will be, I mean, they are the bakers. They should be paid their salary as at when due.
All right. Well, Abadiwi.
Thank you very much, sir. The issue of unpaid salaries in all the states is very unfortunate. There is no reason for it. There is no excuse for it. Because when we look at how state governments have been spending money, you will hear rumorsly or correctly that there are some state governors whose security vote runs up to 1 billion, 2 billion, 800 million just for one family, and they will say it's a security vote. Now, if it is a security vote, and there is security in all the states of the Federation, honestly, a lot of industries will pick up and employment will be blossoming all over the country. But there is no security, except if we are going to be fooling ourselves. Now, the issue of non-payment of salary is just man inhumanity to man. There is no other thing. Because how much is the salary we are talking about? I remember that the comrade and his group that have been agitating for more payment and all that kind of thing. We learned that people are paid as low as 18,000 naira a month. And you will not believe it. At the federal level, a deputy director at the federal level earns as low as 165,000 naira take-home pay for a deputy director. Maybe a director earns as much as 350,000, and a permanent secretary earns about 1.4 million per month. Now, when you look at all this, you look at all these statistics, then let us ask ourselves the question, what is the statistics of the people that are engaged at the state level and at the federal level? what is the accurate statistics? When we are talking about ghost worker, and you yourself, Sri said, the ghost worker syndrome is now becoming a recurring decimal. It's very unfortunate. Biometrics are done once in somebody's lifetime. Once your biometrics are done, your fingerprints, your eyeballs, cranial, and everything, no two persons can share the same thing with you. We did the same biometric with our national ID card. If the national ID card had been made successful, which I believe can be made successful, it is having chips on it, it is safe to use, you can even bank with it, even salary can be paid via it. So the issue of ghost worker can be easily eliminated if you want to eliminate it, both at the state level and at the federal level. More so, all salaries are being paid directly to banks in the last, let's say, 20 years. Salaries are directly paid into bank. And when we are going to move a step further, in the last 3 years, we have done the BVN, which means that all your accounts can be traced to you, who owns the account and all that kind of thing. So if a ghost worker is existing, and the ghost worker is earning salary, which the regular people are supposed to be earning, and the bank BVN should be able to show who the ghosts are. Not just saying, we have reduced ghost worker, they are consuming about 5 billion every month, and we have reduced it. No, we should know which account the ghost worker is using to draw the money. And then if you know the account which the ghost worker is using to draw the money, there should be sanction on some people. But every now and then, ghost workers, well, this, no sanction, no penalty, nobody is punished, then the ghost worker will surface again. If it was 10 ghost workers before, it will remanage like a derism, like a banana sucker. It will come up as 100 ghost workers. So at the end of the day, regular workers cannot get their pay. And these are the areas we should look into. Correct statistics in the ministries, in the state, of workers that are in full employment, of pensioners that are in, regular pensions, and of those people who have nothing to do with taking government fund. And then we should also think about reduction in the cost of governance. A situation whereby somebody will take, Peter Obi mentioned it copiously on a number of occasions, talking about, the size of the security vote and all that. The security vote we are talking about, in some cases, 1 month security vote can build about 10 industries in a state that will employ a lot of people. Not to talk of, if that money is distributed, it will pay so many salary of many months without any strain on the government. So let us rest on that.
That's a lot. Well, comrade, they say salary is non-negotiable, but that's been turned upside down these days.
Yeah, so Mr. let me once again thank the NTA through you for, once again keeping the pathetic story of Nigerian working men and women, alive. And I think, I don't know how to describe it, but there's a saying outside that, it's what you can call abunkunya. It's actually a national disgrace. It's a national shame that we are discussing non-payment of salary for work done. And the only thing that is a bit encouraging is that the President of the Federal Republic, President Muhammad Buhari, is also alarmed. He couldn't understand. That was the first question he asked. Nigerians can pay salaries. And I think recently when he met with the governors, he asked them, how are some of you sleeping? Are you catching sleep when you haven't paid salaries? The only thing I want to add to what President has asked the governors is that if the governors who are owing, assuming they have conscience, couldn't catch their sleep, you can imagine the workers that are owed. Because I don't know how to, it's an equivalent of what they call economicide. Economicide is economic version of genocide.
deliberate deprivations of livelihood for working people. You know, and I don't know how we arrive at this. The founding fathers of the labor movement, Michael Imodu and co., they went on strike in 1948 over cost of living allowance. It was for more pay under colonial regime, not because of lack of pay. Railway workers were paid by the colonial authorities because they knew that you can't keep a working man and woman without paying him. Now we have 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 7 months. I listened to Alaji Ghana, you know, talking of ghost workers. I mean, for me, these are terms that are not even known, you know, in the labor market. What is ghost worker? I mean, it takes a ghost director, ghost employer to have ghost worker. There's nothing like, you know, we have crossed that bridge. Yeah. You know, I mean, serious people, I mean, biometrics, many have done it at federal level. They are doable. They've done those ones. But you're having serial bailout, you know. And here I want to commend President Mohamed Buhari for thinking outside the box. Because if you had gone with the old logic of federalism, I mean, there was no need to have talk of the bailout 1, bailout 2, bailout 3. But in spite of that, for some of these governors, it's business as usual. For me, wage theft is criminal. And I think it's time to return our governors to the spirit of the Constitution they took the oath on. I don't think some of these guys know the implication of the oath they took. 1999 Constitution, with all its limitations, go and read it. It says the primary purpose of governance is security and welfare of the citizens. And it went further to qualify the wage component. It talks of living wage. You know, it talks of shelter. You know, it talks of those basic minimum floor. I mean, our constitution never efficient a situation whereby you talk of no pay at all. It talks of how to improve on pay. And you know, what we have gone through, I mean, the current minimum wage is long overdue. You know, right from 2015, it was an act of parliament. And then we are here. The only thing that can explain what is going on is that we have become a non-working country. Because there's no way you can have recovery or productivity without well-motivated workforce. I mean, the world is talking of fourth industrial revolution. You know, smart services, smart production, and smart pay for their workers. I mean, Togo doesn't talk of non-payment of salary. I mean, when I listen to Alaji Ghana talking of collapse of price of food oil, I mean, what is this collapse? Even now at $50 per barrel, this is one of the most richest countries in the world. Some countries don't have oil.
Ethiopia has no
I mean, you are in private sector before Alaji Ghana. I mean, can you imagine any private sector operator not to pay a worker? I'm from private sector. It's unthinkable. As depressed as Texas is, Texas where we have, you pay, in fact, you have to pay at the correct time, 22nd of the month. You don't pay, nobody's going to work for you. You know, because it's also smart economics. You know, workers pay. It doesn't go to Dubai. It doesn't go to London. It goes to buy basic things that turn the economy around. And all the states that are not paying, they are the most depressed, backward states. Because they are civil service states. That's the only way to run the economy. Now, I think the only thing, maybe we should turn this question around to say, wait, what are those states that are paying? What are they doing? And there are states that are paying. I mean, so why will some state governors pay? Even without bailout. So it's about the value you assign to your most important resource, which is labor. You know, and I think it's time for us to talk of dignity of labor as contained in the spirit of our Constitution. And I think we should make non-payment of salaries to be what it is. It should be an impeachable criminal offense.
Right.
On the part of the governors.
Fine.
Those governors.
So at this point, let's take a look at the issues in true perspective as we get to see this report by Leah Katung Babatunde.
Nigerian economy began its downward trajectory in 2014 when oil prices began to slide down in the global market. Within 2 years, the price of the commodity had almost dropped by half, a situation that was further exacerbated by a change in government across political parties. At the subnational level, the reduced income came with its attendant consequences as most states rely heavily on the Federation account to manage and meet their obligations. While the subnational governments grappled with meeting basic social responsibilities to their people, salaries and pensions were the worst hit. More states joined the fold of the initial non-conformist and others consolidated on the situation at hand. Outstanding wages in some states rose as high as 20 months, causing President Muhammadu Buhari to announce a bailout fund for the affected states to subscribe and ensure they meet their responsibilities to workers. Budget research shows that as at April 2017, 1.75 trillion naira had been doled out to states as extra statutory allocation known as bailout since the advent of President Buhari's administration. The first tranche announced by the president was about 338 billion naira approved to states as salary loan to help those facing fiscal strain meet outstanding salary obligations. The term of the loan was 20 years, with interest rates of 9% approved by the Central Bank of Nigeria. In a quick succession, the states also enjoyed a 575 billion naira restructuring program bond, which was negotiated by the federal government through the Debt Management Office. It allowed states to convert high-interest bank debt into a 20-year tenor debt with interest rates set at 14.83%. In July 2015, 92.18 billion naira was remitted to states by the federal government from dividends worth $2.1 billion paid by Nigeria Liquefied Natural Gas Company (NLNG). 7.85 billion naira was again approved by the federal government to assist states with revenue shortfalls in January 2016 from the dividend remitted by NLNG, and 6 months later, the federal government doled out another 3.6 billion naira from solid mineral savings to states as part of the routine monthly Federation Accounts Allocation Committee disbursement. The sum of 117.3 billion naira was also disbursed to states from excess revenue generated from Petroleum Profit Tax (PPT). Another 522.74 billion naira was released, being refunded to states for surplus deductions of external debt servicing fees between 1995 to 2002. Of the 1.75 trillion naira so far disbursed as bailouts, little is known about how the funds had been spent, as many workers remain without salaries. Apart from the bailouts, the states also enjoyed some funds from the Paris Club refund to the nation. The federal government in December 2016 released the first tranche of the refund, totaling about 516.38 billion naira. 50% was to offset outstanding salaries and pensions, but sadly these still remain unpaid. 7 months later, the federal government approved the disbursement of the second tranche of the refund, totaling 243.795 billion naira, and still salaries, gratuities and pensions are unpaid. With the third tranche in sight, President Muhammadu Buhari recently lashed out on state governors under the auspices of Governors Forum, who perpetually remained indebted to their workers and pensioners despite federal government support to offset them. Only recently, the Nigeria Labour Congress made good its threat to name and shame states notorious for owing salaries and benefits of workers. Ayuba Wabba, NLC president, outlined 10 states, some of which are known for paying certain percentages of the actual amount after much pressure and persuasion, while others are famous for making workers and pensioners sign documents being compelled to forfeit as much as half of their entitlements. Experts say the government at the center should do more in ensuring that these funds are used for their intended purposes only.
Well, that report by Elia Katumba Batunde. Now we can see a number of those states that are chronic debtors in terms of payment of salaries. But we are at that segment of this program now where you can get to join in the discussion in the studio. Of course, the various platforms will be on air. Take advantage of them. For those who will be phoning in, we've always said this, and I'm sure you know it by now, that once you get through, you just go straight to the point. Don't waste too much time on the greetings. And first thing to do when your call gets through is to turn down the volume of your TV set. The best way to know your call has been passed through is your name will appear on screen. Once that happens, go straight to the point and be part of this discussion. So, here we are. We've seen that report. Huge amounts of money, huge sums have gone to the states. And the workers in those states, and many of those states, are not smiling at all. Some of them have managed to give a small fraction of what they owe. Some are still demanding more bailouts from the federal government. What is happening to them?
Well, from the, I only try to show that some states are trying to reduce their cost of governance and be able to meet and match their costs. But certainly from the monthly meetings that Revenue Commission is part of, the money is released to states. It really, there shouldn't be any state that should fail to pay salaries. That's the truth of it. So we've been interested in getting states to, if they are under stress, to look at their cost of governance, which is what Abba mentioned. If you can get your cost of governance down, what I mentioned about ghost workers is there was a lot of frivolous payments that went out, and this BVN and the checking of genuine workers has brought a lot of states to the ability to pay their salaries fully. Some states have already done that, cleaned their wage bill. Now, with the funds that they're receiving now, there really shouldn't be any state, especially with all the assistance that the president has given them. There's no state that really should fail to pay their wages. But we do know, we have records of all states' wage bills. Some states have very huge bloated civil service, huge. And we sometimes wonder what that large civil service that exists in some states, what are they doing? And it's a very big question. When were they recruited? When were they employed? Were they employed when revenues were so high and it was so comfortable to just employ people that were not really doing much for the state? And now the difficult period has come, and states are finding it difficult to adjust. And therefore, the easiest thing for them to do is to deny paying workers, which is wrong. Workers should be paid.
Okay, perhaps we should look at it from this other angle, especially now that you talk about bloated workforce in the states. And I know since the return to democratic governance, every time you've had a change of administration in every state, the civil service is the first whipping boy. So we have it on record. Governors come out and they make so much noise in the media about having discovered XYZ number of ghost workers, a bloated civil force, civil service, and then they go on to reduce and then celebrate that they have eliminated all these ghosts. And no sooner than that administration leaves office, the next one coming in discovers all fresh set of ghosts and a bloated service. So the question is, who is responsible for bringing these ghosts, reviving these ghosts from wherever they are and putting them in the civil service? The same issue of governance. I want you to look at that, Rob.
Yes, like I said before, it's an issue of priority. I've heard several people saying about ghost workers, over bloated civil service, and then cost of governance. What is this cost of governance, for Christ's sake? How bloated is this civil service that I'm talking about? Like you said, we have done several biometrics, and yet they keep on repeating themselves all the time. The issue is that the governors are not serious. They don't want to take their responsibility seriously. You have to pay workers to be able to. If you look at states that are paying, they are progressing. Yeah. They are progressing because I understand one of the ministers was saying something in the meeting that when he came to government to become the governor of that state, I don't want to mention the state, and he said that he realized that it's only by encouraging the workers, by either paying them at when due, and then sending them for training, he discovered that civil service can really put up a good show for you, and the state is making progress because he made it a priority that he would pay workers and he would send them for training. When you take your priority seriously, you will get results. And this state is making progress. Everybody is aware of it, and they pay salary regularly. You know, so I don't know when my governors talk about over-bloated civil service. Cost of governance. What is this? What is the cost of this governance? Where are they spending the money? The governors are quick to award contracts, but they're not quick to pay workers. I mean, this is a shame to think that people can, and they make work difficult for those of us in the ministry, like Ministry of Labor, because every now and then there is always strike, there's problems, there's quarrel, and then we make, like for instance, we have been in the ministry for like from now having meetings from 12 p.m. to 3 a.m. trying to resolve issues of salary non-payment, and that is not right and it's not good. Workers, governors should try as much as possible to, this is the first thing to do. You talk about security vote. Without payment of workers, you can't get security. It's part of it.
All right, the lines are open, and our first caller on this program is Obinna, who's calling in from Delta. Hello, Obinna, go right ahead. Obinna.
Guilty of good workers. Since we form all the whole money that the OCT has been collecting for this one. So that is my contribution.
Sorry, could you take that again? Because we missed the start of that contribution.
Okay, I said anyone that is found as good workers, anyone that is being seen as good workers, let that person inform all the whole money that has been collecting for the number of years. I mean, if the law is being implemented, then no one will be. If you hear about ghost workers or somebody is inviting you to come and to bring you a name or whatever, you will run out of it because you will refund the whole money later.
Okay.
So that's my contribution.
All right, thank you very much, Obinna. And still staying with that subject. Well, there are unconfirmed reports, and the question was raised about the size of and cost of governance. Unconfirmed reports that certain state executives have special assistants for all kinds of things, and you know, they are all placed on the public wage, and beyond that, I still say unconfirmed reports say in some states, people come along with a list of all those who had in one way or the other assisted in getting people elected. And they bring this list, and they're asked to bring lists of sometimes 20, 30. All of these go on the wage bill, especially after the so-called ghost workers had been discovered and exorcised. And so these ones are now placed on, and it's a recurring thing. How can we put an end to it?
Well, the issue of personnel in the public service. I remember in year either 2002 or 2003, a major headcount was made in the federal in all the federal ministries. For that time, we were having about 5 different files of different colors. So they did our biometric and everything, and they said the population of the ministries was so large. And I was in the Federal Ministry of Agriculture, which was supposed to be the second or third largest ministry in the federal service. And we started the whole exercise in the morning. By 1, everybody was done. So I was now asking, what is the population of the ministry if we can start an exercise of head count around 8 o'clock in the morning, and by 1, everybody has been, you know, evaluated. So these are the problems we are having. But no sooner that one was done, issue of ghost workers spread all over the ministries and the states again. Like you said, it has to do with the willpower of each governor and the empathy they want to show to their people. You see, the unfortunate thing about governance in Nigeria, maybe you can permit me to go to historical lane. The situation of governance derailed when we were saying we want to privatize virtually everything. I remember in those days, Comrade and other people will also testify. Each state used to have a lot of enterprises, you know, factories. You go to Kano, come to Kwara State. In Kwara State, the sugar company was doing very well, the paper mill, Jeba paper mill, so many factories. And there are some of the factories that were owned by the Kwara State government. I remember the Igu rice in those days. Igu rice was the first to challenge Uncle Benz in the whole of this country. They were producing a lot of Igu rice. We see a lot of trailers going to collect rice from Patiji. You see a lot of trailers going to Bashita to collect sugar and to take to Lagos, to take to Kano, to take to all over the country. And you know, states, apart from creating employment for the people, to make into existence a proper circulation of income. Because when you create employment for people, they earn, they also go to the market, they spend, farmers will get their own share of the money, the income will be circulating in the economy. Apart from that, the internally generated revenue of the state that time was also meaningful.
Right.
And these were focused administration. But suddenly all these things were just scuttled. And then every state had to be coming to federal to collect their allocation.
Okay, perhaps that's where Shetima Bagada will help us out. But we have a caller from Kogi State, Abdurrahim, calling in from Kogi. Hello, Abdurrahim, go ahead.
Good day. I thank all of you. The topic is, is well crafted, and I just think the problem, in all of this, is that we are just talking about the problem. The solution we are not talking about. And how to prevent these things from happening, again and again. The issue, especially concerning, data, is that we need to have a central data system. Central data system where NHIS could draw theirs from. The phone network providers would draw theirs from. The civil service, both at the federal, state, and local government, would draw theirs from, so that there will be uniformity. I will tell you that the information people have on their BVN probably is not the same information they have on the national ID card, because there is no central data system where people can go and draw from. Then secondly, yes, we have BVN is a very good innovation to curb corruption, but there is a new dimension to it. People are not keeping their money in the bank again, they are converting into property. So what we need to do now is to establish another one, property verification number. So that your BVN is there, the property verification number is there, then your national identity number is there. So there is virtually, with these three, no way you can go about it without you being caught. Then we need to go further. Anybody who is found wanted will be punished. There is just no way, somebody said there is ghost work. The ghost didn't just establish itself in the civil service. Somebody manufactured the ghost there. Why should we be talking about the ghost worker and we will not be talking about the person who has brought in the ghost worker? So these are the problems. We talk about, the problem will carry it, and we are not dealing with the root cause of it. So until we are sincere. And secondly, there is one other critical, area the average Nigerian does not manage his discretion well. Give an average Nigerian, the ability to exercise discretion. The most probable thing that he's going to do is that he's going to exercise it the wrong way. We are still running, look at a lot of the governors. Even their composure alone will make you feel they are military governors, not civilian governors. So they can't walk, around the people, and that brings, to fall our educational system.
All right.
The right values are not being taught to children in school, so they grow up, wanting to live like a military man instead of being, a civilian.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Abdurrahim. Yes, well, you heard Abdurrahim. That's, well, of course,
Yeah, I think,
presupposing that the whole problem rests squarely on the number of people who draw in pay from the government. But again, it's also been said that while many states are owing, they still embark on grandiose projects and sometimes white elephants.
Yeah, but I think there's something has happened in government, and we must really draw this attention to it. In the past, and I've been a planning officer in the past, and I've been in office in my state and things going back 20, 30 years. Now, the management of funds in those days, which the states now may have to go back to, was first when funds are brought at the beginning of the month. The first thing that is brought out without any argument is salary.
The salary. First line charge.
You bring out first line charge. You bring out salaries. It's only after you've paid salaries. The next thing is to pay feeding allowance for children in school, primary and secondary school. It is thereafter, after you've done these two, that any funds are available for any other thing. Now it's turned upside down. Maybe other things come first before you begin to talk about even feeding in schools and salaries. So going back to first thing first says, what is the money available? How much do you need to pay salaries? Remove that first before you do anything. And if that is going to be done, certainly virtually every state will pay salaries from at least from the revenue base of what they receive from the federation account and from most of their own internally generated revenue. Because quite a lot of states, internally regional revenue of a lot of states can actually pay the salaries.
Actually, I think why we should take the comment of Ibrahim, from Kogi serious.
Well, in fact, there are many more calls coming in from Kogi.
Yeah,
now.
You know very well, Kogi is also a state we kill in
fact,
terms of payment of salary.
We have just before you go on, we have an A2 who's also calling in from Kogi. Hello.
Hello, good evening.
Yes, good evening.
Yeah, good evening, everyone.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, I am particularly very concerned. I want to speak about the non-payment of salary in Kogi State. I do not believe that there is any state in this country that cannot pay salary. I came into Kogi State. I've been traveling, I've been out of the state for some time, but I came into the state today. I want to tell you from what is happening right now in Lokoja. I'm in Lokoja now. Every economic activity has been crippled. Nothing is working in Kogi State. And Kogi State is a civil service state. Which means that if civil servants are not paid, then nothing works. See? So I really believe that it's not about ghost workers in the system. It's not about all that. I think it has to do with those we have in government. Those we have in government who are supposed to take responsibility, who are supposed to live up to their expectations. It's just an act of, I call it an act of raw wickedness. Raw wickedness to the people. Because for instance, let's assume that you are a governor, you have 10 workers.
and the federal government gives you money to pay, okay, 7 workers. From the 7 workers you are supposed to pay, can't you just say at least the 7 workers and let the remaining 3 wait until there's some other money, and taking monthly allocation every month and not even paying a dime? It's so wickedness. I think so. It's so wickedness. And I want you to also understand that you can make the inquiry for yourself. I've made the investigation. Are you aware that in Kogi State, the judiciary is not good? It's sent to the judiciary because he knows that they can fight him. They can fight him. He's sent to the judiciary. The judiciary is not crying foul. Nobody in the judiciary is crying foul. They are all keeping quiet because he's seeing them and leaving us to rot away. Well. That's the contribution. I think it's just raw wickedness. We just have to look into the system.
All right, Etu, thank you very much. Yes, comrade.
Well, I think, Siri, we've done so much analysis. I think, as Ibrahim asked last time from Kogi, is that what would be the way forward? What should be the solution?
All right.
And I think, solutions are also emerging from our discussions here. I watched your tape in which NSC came out with the philosophy of naming and shaming them.
You think that would be effective?
Maybe we need to also add to that to say naming and praising those who have paid.
Yes, because
let me
they've named and it hasn't changed anything.
Why it's not so is that, you see, why we haven't seen the result of that is that we are leaving this to labor alone. And I think this is where I want the Federal Ministry of Labor to properly be on duty. I listen to my very good friend, Director of Labor. Because your mandate is simply to also enforce our basic rules, the law. Nigerian labor law is clear. It's actually criminal not to pay workers, as I went in. It's criminal to distort payment.
It's in the Constitution.
25%, 75%. Yeah. So we can't leave this only to the president, agonizing. Let me use this forum to also congratulate the new secretary to government, Boss Mustafa, because I'm saying so because secretary is the key, he has to also assist the president to get this done. Because you see, the wage crisis, the crisis of compensation, Nigeria cannot get out of recession with no well-paid workforce. World Bank just released a report today, I think NTA also carried it, of the 2 states that are making progress in terms of ease of doing business. And it's Kano and Lagos. The 2 states are paying salaries that are what the World Bank did mention, they talk of ease of business. Yes. The key ease of doing business is ease of working. Right. Working people. So we have to make this to be a national economic issue that should be addressed. So Ministry of Labor has to help us, not only to name and shame, but to have sanctions. There should be consequences. Yeah. For why state governors, let me have this on Siri, you see, our governors have forgotten that they are not just employer of labor. Yes, they have dual status, just like federal government. You are not just employed, you have to enforce the laws. Now, if the governor doesn't pay, what will be the moral basis for a governor to ask a Chinese investor, India investors, Alaji Ghana's investors, we were together in those days, I know when he was running private business. If he doesn't pay, who's going to enforce it? Because they said those who ask for equity must come with
clean hands.
Clean hands. So if the governors don't pay. So what I'm saying here is that there should be consequences for inaction in public governance. And let me add on this. Governance ties. There is a governor who was listed among these, who spent 1 week celebrating birthday. His own salary. His charity start from our side, not with his own workforce. I don't want to mention it, but I leave it to your imagination. There are those who spend 3 days, 4 weeks to state weddings. For God knows what. And yet they hold. So it's not lack of resources, it's lack of the will to really live to the mandate. And we are no more helpless, and we're happy we are now in a democracy. Citizens must now use their right. Any governor that doesn't pay, we have the right to recall. We have the right to promote those who pay as I went due. And I don't think we have to link this to the economic recovery of the country as a whole and survival of the workforce.
All right. Yes, you were going to come in here.
Yes, the issue of sanctions it's very, very good. It's as my old friend has mentioned, this naming and shaming is good, and to do something about it. But we also take note of the Constitution. The Constitution has separated the powers of the federal and the states. There's very little that the federal...
No, it's on an exclusive list.
There's very little that the federal can do.
There's
very little that the federal can do to the state governor. The control there for the state governors come from their state assemblies. That's where the control should come. The president...
If you collect 1.3 trillion naira...
The president has done his best by giving... The president has done his best by giving these bailouts and trying to give this... 1-2 trenches of the Paris Club refunds. The best he can do. The issue now is for the people in their states and their state assemblies to do something about it. I doubt very much if the Ministry for Labour can really sanction any state and apply any sanction. It's not even possible. So let's understand what the Constitution has limited us to do and what we can't do, and then really find that those things that we can do, and let's apply them quickly.
All right. Since you mentioned the Ministry of Labour, we'll come to that because there's something they're highlighting now. But let's first take this call from Birnin Kebbi. Umar calling in from Birnin Kebbi. Hello.
Thank you, Mr. Zero. I'm Umar Anache calling from Birnin Kebbi. And I would like to welcome you from your maybe break, because I couldn't see you for the past, I think, 4 or 3 programs.
Right, thank you.
Valerie, honestly, I consider it as a wickedness on the part of governors. And when you look at, what you call it, when you look at those governors that were not able to perform, they were the governors that always want to identify themselves with Muhammad Buhari, honestly. And their own case is the worst. Often all the, what you call it, bailout and Paris Club reform, when you consider those governors that always want to identify themselves with Muhammad Buhari, their own case is the worst. So let me give you an example. Anytime Mr. President wants to go outside, Zamfara governor will follow him, sending Zamfara money to finance his one foreign trade. But he was not able to implement even 18,000 naira minimum wage. Look at this kind of thing. What is happening in Kogi? It's the whole thing. People are dying, committing suicide. And the funny aspect is that there is no expenses in the government house that has been reduced as a result of economic problem or lack of funds. In fact, some of the expenses in their various government houses have even increased tremendously, but they are not able to pay salary. This is questionable, honestly. And here in Kebbi State, we should thank God that our governor is able to pay salary. Honestly, salary is not the problem.
Sokoto is paid. I think we should also name those who are paid.
We have here in Kebbi State is only that of pension. And I would like to call on the state governor in Kebbi State kindly.
Kaduna is also paid.
May God continue to bless our country. Thank you, Mr.
All right, thank you very much, Umar Anache. Now, if it's so tough for those who are still in service to get what is due them, what about the plight of pensioners? Wow. Because if you look across those states, well, in fact, some of the pensioners have just given up. Is it that there is this over-reliance on what comes from the center, and therefore states have given up on generating internal revenue? What is responsible for that?
We talk about Federal Ministry of Labour. But first of all, I want to commend the action of the federal government in trying to reduce this issue of ghost workers by the IPPIS.
Yeah.
This IPPIS had kind of bring to the fore the correct number of federal civil servants. And I think I will have to encourage the federal government to get other parastatals that are not involved in the IPPIS now to be involved. That way, you will know the exact figure of the federal government workers. And then states should also copy this.
Some states have started.
Why
some
would
states
the
have
states,
started.
if this is such a good idea, why are states not quick to, you know, key into something that's so beneficial?
Some states have started.
Yeah.
Some states have started. Some states have started following this IBPS system.
Yes, but you would think that if this is such a good idea, people would just go straight into it. Yes,
some federal exist now. Some parastatals are resisting it.
Of course, because it's a forum for the
they don't want to join. But I want to encourage the federal government to put their feet on the ground and ask everybody to key in.
It's not ask, it's direct everybody.
That is the only way you can really curb this issue of ghost workers.
It's direct, not ask. Direct.
You know, but that's why I was saying the Ministry of Labour has a central role to play. You see, there's factory inspection on basic minimum standard of occupational health and safety. Now, there are also rules guiding payment of salaries.
Now, what I want to add,
I think Ministry of Labour,
when you talk about these trenches of payment, now, I think that federal government would have asked, okay, let us have the inventory, let us have how much each state is owing. And then we don't just throw these trenches to states, but they will go and put it in different things. How much each state is owing, and then they can be, and if you want federal Ministry of Labour to assist, then you can channel this amount of money that is owing workers. Let the Ministry of Labour supervise the payments.
All right, gentlemen, it's about time for us to take a short break. When we return, we'll look at other issues here, particularly what the labor laws say. Even though nowadays the only aspect which is referred to regularly is no work, no pay. And the question has been asked, what about no pay, no work? Stay with us. We'll be back shortly.
Nigerians, our fearless officers and men of the Nigerian military are winning the war against Boko Haram. Today, all occupied territories have been recovered and Boko Haram has been degraded. Our affected brothers and sisters are getting their lives back. However, they are now after you and me. In our mosques, churches, schools, motor parks, markets, entertainment centers, and public gatherings. Be vigilant. Be security conscious. Report suspicious persons, objects, and movements to the police and other security agencies. The security of our nation is a duty for you and me. Nigeria, unite against terrorism.
This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
The struggle for independence had been a long and tough one. Our founding fathers and compatriots sacrificed their comfort and even shed their blood. We cannot at this point in history afford to spirit away their sacrifices for immediate but temporary gains of today. Let us emphasize what unites and not what divides us. Working for the unity of purpose with a stronger vision for a better tomorrow. NTA, growing with the nation.
Nigeria, the only country we can train with remarkable potentials to excel. Let us believe in ourselves and change our attitude for the sake of our country and generations unborn. Let us revive our cultural values, which are our essence as a nation. Let us renew the spirit of patriotism and hope in our dear country. Do not take or give bribe. Be punctual always. No more African time. We can't expect to be global citizens and operate on African time. Join the queue. Insist that people are attended to on a first-come basis, no matter who they are or where they come from.
Nigeria, good people, great nation.
Make you report any crooked person, object or wakajube movement to police and security agent demo.
The security of our nation now work for all of us, plus including me and you.
Nigeria, make we unite against terrorism. Now, Federal Ministry of Information and Culture bring on this message.
The board and management of Stonehenge Hotel wishes to congratulate our chairman, Alhaji Hassan Ahmed Dambaba,
on his 20th year as the Magajin Giri, Sokoto. You have excelled in all ramifications of life. You are an epitome of kindness, leadership, and excellence. Words cannot express your contribution and achievements over the past 20 years. We have watched with admiration the dynamic roles you have been playing in discharging your role as the grandson of the legendary Sir Ahmadu Bello, the Sardauna of Sokoto. You remain the signature of all eyes within the northern region and beyond. Your humility, compassion, and patriotic sense of responsibility correspondingly reflect the character of your grandfather, the late Sardauna, who has continued to remain in the consciousness of our people. Congratulations on this remarkable achievement, our chairman, management, announcer.
NTA Tuesday Live, a network issue-oriented innovation talk show.
Right, thanks for staying with us. Well, expectedly, it's a heated debate here behind the scenes, and the question of salaries, just like that. But then we also took our cameras out to speak to the citizens, and let's get to see this.
Civil servant will work 30 days and not be paid. It's unacceptable. It's corruption in the highest order. The implication is so very, very grievous over families. Members of the families are dying. It's most unfortunate that our governors will be engaging themselves in projects that have no any consequent reward to the civil servant. It's most unfortunate.
I don't think they have any cogent reason. There's no substantial reason for them not to pay salaries of the workers. And so by so doing, they're demoralizing the workers. They say people are committing suicide, people are dying. How can somebody owe someone working for 15 months salary, as I heard? If that is true, of course, for God's sake, he's supposed to be called to order.
I think they should put in place agencies and structures that will monitor the way the governors spend all these funds. Because most of them use it for their own personal needs and family needs also, while neglecting the main purpose for which the funds were given to them.
I see no reason why a governor will hold funds and hold to ransom, and at the end of the day, we won't be able to give out people who actually worked for their wages. The Bible says a worker deserves his wages. Of course, they should be paid. You're not doing roads. You're not paying salaries. You're not doing anything in the community. It's not your governance is not visible. At the end of the day, the little people who have worked for their pay, you're not still paying them.
In their various states, the monthly allocation is coming to their states monthly. That we know very well. And the states supposed to raise IGRO in their various states. Some of the states are raising their IGRO. States like Lagos states, they are raising their IGRO very well, and they are making their money from there. But in other states, they are equally generating IGRO. But the reason why, I don't know, they are not paying the salaries of workers is best known to them. The federal government should look into this issue very well. Before they could release money for them again, they must make sure they are thoroughly monitored.
The government that believes in fighting corruption should meet up to standard of meeting with the needs and demands of the citizens of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. The president have said so many things. The governors have said so many things. And so much have been given, but so much is not being seen by the people.
It is quite unfortunate. And this is a spin-off of corruption. You understand? We talk about corruptions in all quarters. So when you're given a particular fund for a particular purpose and you don't use that for that same purpose, it is an act of corruption. And if Nigeria says we are ready to fight corruption, I think it has to begin with our state governors or the persons having the responsibility to pay salaries.
Nigerians bearing their minds on what the situation is like. And so we come back to the studio, and then the question is, what's been highlighted, what the labor laws say, what we find has been highlighted nowadays is the principle of no work, no pay. And some people are asking, what about no pay, no work? Perhaps you can guide us on this.
Yeah, this the issue of no work, no. I think the is an ILO convention, but it has there's a caveat to it. If there's an agreement, a collective agreement that it will pay at certain time, or that salaries should be paid as at when due, and you refuse to pay, there are processes, dispute resolution processes that you're supposed to follow. If you follow those processes to the end, you can go on strike. Right. It's a legitimate strike, and nobody is going to own your salary. But if you don't follow these laid down trade dispute settlement procedures, and you pull to take strike action first, then you'll be fouled for doing that. But like we are saying here in Nigeria today, if you want to go into moral, if you kind of that workers, you may not fault them if you don't pay them salary. For instance, you are always a worker for like 3, 4, 5, 6 months. And you expect them to work.
What does that do to productivity? Because you see, all the time we say, well, labor creates wealth, and it's a usual talk about increasing productivity, and the workforce has to be productive. What effect does this have on productivity?
That's the point I'm raising, that all of us have to own this process, in a way that we don't make it to be workers' problem alone. I mean, I listened to a very good tape you've carried now. Now, a worker that is not paid his salary can certainly not be well motivated. A worker that is not paid, it has implications for the child that goes to school. Many children have been withdrawn from school. A child that goes sick, who pays the bill? So not only that the workers, some of them are dying, but some of their dependents, have become so vulnerable to all some of that. Another that context, what productivity can you give? Not only that, you can't even enforce discipline. I mean, if you haven't paid the worker, how will it be productive? And if it's not productive, what discipline can you impose? Even to fight against corruption. You say workers could be, we could become whistleblowers. Which whistle can you blow when you are hungry? Somebody will buy you and your whistle completely. So even the key to sustainable fight against corruption will be well-paid, motivated workforce. And I've been to countries like Ghana, poorly paid. Relatively poorer. They also face the problem of crash of primary products.
They even have only 2 wells for a whole country.
You hardly see
but the population is only 11 million or 20 million.
You hardly see. No, what I'm saying is that the point I want to raise, Alaji, the point I want to raise is that you don't go to any of these places and they say, "Oh, comrade, your boys are here. Happy weekend, happy new moon." Working beggars. Yeah, Nigeria wasn't like this. What I'm saying, okay, let's even look back historically. I think Chief wanted to play on history because we need memory. The miracle of Nigeria in the 60s, 70s were one of the most fast-growing developing economy. It was based on productivity of the workforce, the civil service.
Not on oil.
Well paid. You know that once you have job, you're out of poverty. Stable, well paid. You can save. Some have sent their children to school. You also know that your life is guaranteed after work. And as you said, I think we've not really exhausted that aspect. The pensioners, the story is far more
pathetic.
Because those that are even being paid under the new contribution to school, which is quite commendable, some are paid less than minimum wage.
Of course.
Some 8,000, 10,000. So what I'm saying is I think labor market issues, we need to really take this serious. and that Ministry of Labour, you've been doing a very good job. I mean, the minister has been intervening on a number of issues, but it's now for us to drive it together, including Wages Commission, Revenue Mobilization Commission. I mean, interestingly, I serve on the Wages Commission. You know, I mean, as one of the part-time labor commissioner, those are the things that Nigeria has those institutions to enforce the rules. You know, and on last note, with our governance style, revenue mobilization. Alaji, you are the acting chair. How do some of these governors maintain this lifestyle, governor lifestyles? You're a debtor governor. You charter flights. No private sector chief executive can do that without being sacked. They live like as if they are running a kingdom. But even modern kings are more frugal.
All right. How about we look at it from some of the governors' point of view? They say they inherited huge debts, again, a bloated workforce, and sometimes they say in their negotiations with labor leaders, they've been given options. Downsize, lay off people, and they say no. So, okay, if we can't lay off, how about taking a pay cut? And they say no. And there's still pressure on them to provide more employment, since they say government provides, you know, is the biggest employer of labor. So some of them say, what are they expected to do in a scenario like this? What can they do, really?
Two things here. One, Thariwu has mentioned something about the Revenue Commission doing something. The Revenue Commission once, more than a decade ago, tried to do something with some states, and they went to the Supreme Court and won the case. And the Supreme Court judgment then was that the Revenue Commission was a busybody, that the Revenue Commission has no right to go and interfere in what's happening in the states, just like the federal cannot really interfere in what's going on in the states. That is one. Two, the Revenue Commission since 2004 read this writing on the wall that we're going to go into trouble depending on one product or one commodity. And in 2004, we did a program on diversification. We did another one in 2013, went around the whole country. And since then, we've now gone around the country again on solid minerals and on other issues. All we're trying to say is, since the last 15 years is this: let's diversify the economy, grow the economy, but as diversifying the economy in agriculture, solid minerals, tourism, industry. If you have an economy that has grown, revenue increases, and you'll be able to sustain the salaries or whatever development that is required by the people in the country. And that's what the Revenue Commission has been doing the last 15 years. So, so you've got to do two things. One is looking at your cost of governance. Luxury has to stop. Frivolous expenses would have to stop. Cut down in your bloated civil service, and also a luxury lifestyle of the public officers, governors, and so would have to reduce, and then also grow the economy through diversification. If you do the two at the same time, you will end up with some stability down the road.
Okay, let's go back quickly to the phones now. We have William calling in from Benue State. Hello, William.
Hello, good evening, sir.
Good evening.
I'm so happy that you are discussing something of this nature at this very particular time of the day. People are just emphasizing on certain things like the... Hello?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, like in Benue State, for instance, Makodi, those of us that are staying in Makodi, you come to the state, you discover that, like, even like pensioners, I cannot even talk about them, like some, their pensions have not been paid for over up to 2 years. My dad is a pensioner. They have not been paid for. In fact, I can't remember the last time he was paid. But come to those that are still in service. Some are owing, some they are owing them 15, some 8 months. Most especially those in the primary school, those ones, in fact, their issue is as if they are no longer workers with the state government anymore. So the issue of salary, I think if the federal government really needs to do something concerning those working at the state level, because the governors don't regard them as workers anymore. You will see someone will be working with the state government and at the same time will be begging to even eat. no talk of paying the children's school fees. So what becomes of the person's and children's life? No, as you are creating more poverty on the society and causing problems. They will steal this money. If you go to Benin State now, you will come to his company, the present serving governor. He has the company. You say the company is flourishing. Why is paying workers? The company is flourishing. It's developing day by day. Why the state government workers are they dying day by day? Because some cannot see their children. They die as a result of the pressure from the family. And all these things are resulting into so many social vices in the society. You hear of stealing, killing here and there on increase. Court activities on increase. Or it is because there are no jobs. Even those that are working, they are not being paid. So that.
Oh yeah, William, thank you so much. Not so passionate about the issues here, but again, would the workers accept load shedding, as they say, a cut in either salaries or a reduction of the workforce? That is also something that would lead to confrontation.
I think, you know, you can't shed the load that is not there. Where's the load
that
of
is
the
it.
worker? The load is indebtedness. You know, which workers are going into. If you want to say it means that you have to pay them more and pay them as and when you. I think ideas are already coming out here. Well, and I don't think that's why we have this platform. We should also name them so that we can tame them.
And shame them.
I know, even if you don't shame them, at least tame them. There are 2 states that are listed among the ones you put there who are owing salaries, but they are building cargo airports. And they are so hungry, state that are so close to themselves.
100 of billion. That will open up the economy.
I mean, what are you producing on top of exporting? These have, I mean, the examiners, you know, have to complain about this also. So you mentioned about what's Nasarawa do with an airport close to Abuja. What's Benue do with an airport? And they can't pay salaries. I mean, for me, it's really funny project, and I think, you know, people have to know that Nigeria has to change. It's not business as usual. I mean, maybe when we had $120, you know, dollars per barrel, 140, you know, you can do all sorts of things with the public fund. But now that we are down, this cannot be acceptable. Then not only that, and I listened to you, Alhaji Ghana, very well, your dilemma, the revenue mobilization. But we should also know what the facts are. If you see the pension schemes, some states have worked out, virtually all the states, for their 2-term governors.
The pension, yeah.
2-term governors, who are now, most of them are now also senators.
The pensions they are collecting.
You know, they collect, you know, they collect pay in office, they also collect huge pension, which they collect, I mean,
for life.
I'm asking you, as some of these states are defaulting, they've never defaulted on payment, some of these 2-term governors. So what I'm saying, I think what we need to do is talk of load shedding. The real shedding should come from those who carry excessive weight of public funds.
Yes.
Which they are not supposed to be entitled to. And let's think of those workers who are being denied. And last one is the greatest threat to our survival as a nation now is the gap between the poor
and the rich.
You know, it's widening every day. This wage crisis has compounded it further.
Okay. Let's go back to the phones. We have from Osun, calling in from Osun State, another Williams. Williams, hello, from Osun.
Hello, sir.
Yes, go ahead.
I want to say that what the president is now saying about all the money that has been allocated to every state, I want to say it's an overthought, because in Osun State, the government has done a lot of projects. And when there was money, it gives out 13 months for workers. But now, he is doing a lot of work. So what we are appealing for is how to train him, how to instruct him, to look back to the workers and pay them their salary. Because people are dying. But to say a man is working, the government is actually working. If it till now is on the road, is building schools. But the stomach of workers are empty. So we want him to realize that he has to make a focus on the workers, the bids. But to say that a governor has performed, he performed concerning infrastructure, education, and health, but concerning salary, is a hell in Osun State now. So we are feeling that the president talk to him in order to pay worker salary. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Well, he says in some aspects they're doing well, in other aspects not that well. But again, Badewi, if we all agree that this is a sorry situation for those who are in service, and also for pensioners, and now we're talking about the states, what about the local governments?
Well, thank you very much, Siri. I was just thinking about the local government issue, that actually has compounded the situation at the state level. In fact, most of the lack of accountability at the state level stemmed out of the fact that local governments were being funded directly from the federal. And I'm sorry I have to say this because we have to go back to history. In the past, when each state had the right to create the number of local government they can manage, the state collects their allocation, they know how to take care of their local governments and everybody, including their salary, including development of infrastructure, including development of even industrial estates for the state. But when fundings were coming directly to the local government, we call it the third tier of government. They have their own legislature, they have the chairman, they have all the paraphernalia of office, and then they give them 3 years tenure. And I do not see any state in Nigeria that there is no problem about management of local government fund. We have been hearing it for many years now. So that is one problem. You see, I was now ruminating about the issue of sanction, which we are talking about, because if there is no law, there is no sin. If there is law, there will be sin. And if there is sin, there will be punishment. If there is no punishment, people do whatever they like until the critical mass of the people will get to a state of hopelessness. And when the critical mass of the people gets to a state of hopelessness, then revolution sets in. And when there is revolution, it may not be a luxury. It may turn out to be a very bloody revolution. Because when the masses are ready to die, there is nothing anybody can do to check their anger. Now, I was now thinking, I don't know what is in the Constitution, though I have part of the Constitution here. I know that most of the governors, they have vice grip on their state assemblies. So the issue of saying that as punishment, a governor can be impeached because he's not paying salary has been taken care of by most of these governors, because the House of Assembly of their state are under their armpit. But is it not possible for the masses to have some strength of recalling gradually their own assemblymen and replacing them with people's assemblymen until a situation whereby they will have the critical mass that can checkmate the excesses of the governor? Because if the excesses of the governors are not checkmated, we will continue to debate this over and over and over and over without any solution.
All right, just as we ponder on that, let's take this other call coming through. This again from Kogi. Adeju calling from Kogi State. Hello, Adeju.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you. I want to use this medium to first and foremost thank the people of Kogi for their resilience. And then to identify with all those who have lost their loved ones because of this issue of non-payment of salary. As I speak with you, funeral piles have eaten up the forest in Kogi State. We bury ourselves on a daily basis.
Wow.
And precisely any government that has little stop by the importance of education is not a government that takes care of the people, and that particular society or state is a doomed society. Now our children, they have been at home for a while and nobody is doing anything about it. Just like the man I see on screen now from the Revenue Allocation Mobilization and Fiscal Commission said, that this problem can be taken care of by state houses of assembly. We have a case here, only one member speaking for the masses, the member representing Iga Lamela or those local governments. He said, raised the motion in the floor of the House that the Accountant General of the state, the State Commissioner for Finance, and the Auditor General should come and make, give account of the inflows and outflows of the resources. Could you believe what happened? This member was beaten and even script-plated, you understand, because he raised this motion. Now, if not other devices, maybe presidency can come in and do this, nothing can salvage the situation in the state. It is very, very unfortunate we're having this, despite this. There are no projects going on to make it work. No single project to say this is what the money has gone for. And like the issue of birthdays going on and huge amounts of money being spent. You understand? So precisely what I want to say is I want to use this medium to thank co-guides for their resilience and to identify with all the families that have lost their loved ones because of this non-payment of salary. Thank you. God bless you all.
Thank you very much, Adejo. Now, some of the states saying that they would really want to generate more revenue internally, but some states say, look, they're hamstrung by the system that's been run, okay? You've got minerals under the ground in your state, you don't have any right to it, it's at the federal level. You've got resources which you can tap and improve the economy, you do not have any say over it. And they say this is why some of them are calling for a second look at what we practice.
You know, for me, the lesson of, if there's any lesson from the development, is that we need to consider the issues involving the crisis of governance in Nigeria. And I think even as we are overwhelmed by bad practices, I think we should be motivated by some good practices. I mean, when you look at states like Kano, Kaduna, Lagos, I mean, that are free from this crisis of payment of salary, you also see chief executives that have been tested, who have the capacity, who understand the challenges of governance. You also see some modesty. People really see themselves as public servants. I mean, at least Lagos have shown that successively along that line. Why I'm raising this point is that, you see, the case of Kogi, I felt so bad about it so much because, I mean, he's a very promising governor, the way he came in. You know, but the attitude, the way you manage labor, I mean, all the testimonies you've gotten here shows that the state is grounded on account of crisis. I mean, yes, there are legitimate problem of shortage of revenue, everybody knows that, but your reaction to manage it, you know, you criminalize even workers' protests. I mean, I heard the governor say he banned academic unions in the university. It doesn't even have that right. So, governor doesn't have that right. Labor issues on the exclusive list. You know, no military governor ever did that. You know, to say you ban local unions. I mean, you haven't banned the problem. You are banning their organization. So now, what I'm saying, compared to Osun, almost the same challenge. But whether you like it or not, the governor Ralph Arego is a bit more sober. He's more reflective. I mean, I read him every day to say, well, he's agonizing every day, couldn't pay. He's very modest. He engages the workers and he said, wait, even me too, I refuse to pay myself some of the issues. So he's sober over it. And with that one, you can find a way out of the crisis. Not the way.
Let's just take this one, who should be probably our last caller tonight, from Akure, Wale, who's calling in. Hello.
Hello, good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Yeah, I want to look at this issue from a different angle from the way your guest has been looking at it. I want to look at it from the angle of the labor itself and the issue that has to do with overbloating of the workforce and the issue of ghost workers. I believe sincerely, if you look at the issue of IP at the federal level, which has been able to whip up, which has been able to whip away ghost workers, you'll find out that, of course,
most of these ghost workers are brought in by workers themselves, directors, peers. They're not brought in by ministers. They are not brought in by Mr. President. And that is the way it also happened in the States. And I believe very sincerely that some people need to pay for some of these things. And until when people are made to pay for some of these things they do, it will continue. And this is corruption. Because of the fact that people are not questioned, people are not investigated, and people are not punished for whatever they have done, has made the issue to continue. Of course, the workers have also continued to encourage the governors to do some of these things that have been done. Because most majorly the blames have been put the doorstep of the governors. If you look at the papers, even at the local government levels, it is the head of the workers at the local government level that we know that, of course, A, B, C, D are ghost workers. And they collect the money. The chairman of the local government may not be aware of this. So I sincerely believe that the workforce itself also needs to call itself to question to this issue of non-payment of salary. Because when it is overbloated, there's no how the governors will be able to pay. And you are equally aware that, of course, we are going through recession now. Of course, the governors also need to cut some of the so-called special assistants 2, special assistant 3, so that at least they'll be able to cut cost of governance. But at the same time, the workers themselves also need to help the governor in making sure that, of course, we reduce, ghost workers at every strata of governance. Thank you, Silva.
Thank you very much. Now, in terms of generating revenue, how do you respond to calls that states should be completely in charge of the resources that are found in their areas?
I think the Revenue Commission was really very interested in this aspect, especially the issue of the soil minerals. And we've gone around the country twice so far in checking on this, because we were interested in the soil mineral development, because we found that the two areas of diversification, agriculture and soil minerals, exist in every state and in every local government. So there will be very equitable development and access to everybody. We did a report, and the report made some very serious suggestions, and we submitted to government already, and some of it are already being worked on. There is a move, if some of these recommendations made by us and made by the Miners Association of Nigeria and the other organizations that are advocating some kind of some emphasis and improved funding and emphasis in the Ministry of Mines and Steel Development. In fact, one of the main recommendations we made was that the inspectorate arm of the Ministry of Mines should be excised from the ministry and set up as an agency on its own, standalone on its own, like the Department of Petroleum Resources of the petroleum industry. And if they are established that way and are allowed to keep some percentage of the funds that they generate from the royalties and licenses that they issue, they'll be able to be better funded. And we went around all the states and all their offices. They don't have vehicles, they are not properly funded, and also allowances for them to go and, because 80% of the minerals in Nigeria are mined illegally, 80%. But the time you now go back and get those 80% into the formal sector, you'll be able to collect royalties, be able to collect taxes, and those taxes would now, 13% of the taxes collected from any state would go back to the state, just like the oil, 13% of derivation for the oil, 13% of the minerals coming from every state would go back. In fact, for the first time, Revenue Commission allocated in the last 2-3 years money to states that produce solid minerals, for the states to understand that if they can also participate in the development of solid minerals, they can get this revenue. And 2 or 3 states have been active in this. Ondo State has been now active in bitumen in its state. Kaduna was very interested in pushing this nickel in Kaduna State, and I think there's another state that got interested in the minerals in their state. So some states are beginning to buy into the interest in the development of minerals in their state. No law stops a state from establishing a mining company and coming to the Federal Ministry of Mines and getting a license to go and mine. No state has been denied that. So for the states to say certain changes have to be made, you can still operate within the existing laws, so long as you have the initiative and the drive to say, well, look, there's minerals in every state in this country. There are minerals, useful minerals, by the way. About 10 states have gold, right? And it's all being mined illegally. Why can't you now go and start getting this thing done properly, legally, getting investors from South Africa, Canada, Australia, those that have specialized in gold or in any of the other minerals, and develop them. So there's quite a lot of initiative that the states can do in minerals. It's just expecting that some laws have to be made to make things easy. It's unnecessary. We've got existing laws with slight modifications. States that have the drive and the initiative, as I've mentioned, a few states, can do a lot in the mineral sector.
Well,
all right.
If I may add to what Alhaji Shetima just said, in the past, for instance, there are a number of states that are prospecting marble in their own state. And they are doing very well. I remember the old Kwara state used to have Jakura marble near Lokoja, and it was doing very well. And so there is nothing stopping any state from having, you know, their own enterprise or corporately established organ that will be processing any of these natural resources. In fact, when we are talking of, there is no reason why in some cases federal, state, and private sector cannot partner to establish any of this venture and make things go well for every citizen of Nigeria. So I think these are all the areas that we have to look into when we are talking of diversification. But, you know, to go back to the issue of how we can address the situation of either bad governance or bad something, we have to also bring in the press to change some of their own attitudes. I'm very sorry, I have to tell you the truth. I've, you know, read through pages of newspaper when I will see some governors that are not paying salary and they will say they are giving them award as either the best governor in Africa or something, and I'll be wondering what is happening to us in this country. Even those of us who are pensioners, those of us who are pensioners, I remember, is it not this year or sometimes last year, when the woman who was managing our contributory pension that we were all complaining about in Pencom was given award as the best person, only a few months after to be declared that she has been thrown out. You know, the press should also have some kind of, is it integrity or dignity we call it, so that when they are invited to polish their image, they can say, sorry, we cannot polish your image because we feel you are not doing the right thing for the people.
And then let me say it on the issue of internally generated revenue. Again, the best practices. You know, the two states we keep on referring to, the miracle of Lagos and Kano is that they've aggressively shown that they don't need handouts at the center. And they've really done a good job to block the leakages, to aggressively mop up entirely revenue.
At Anambra,
Anambra and also
few other
now,
states.
but the last point I want to raise on this is that, you see, the lesson of this crisis is also that
Kaduna,
we should change this neoliberal, sermon that government has no business in business. Government has business in business.
Of course.
Because for you to pay to service, to build infrastructure, you must offer source of revenue. And I think Chief was reminding us, I mean, for Kwara State, of course, where that's supposed to be my legacy state. I know very well in those days, you said so, Machco, government had investment in matches, in sugarcane, in, I think you mentioned rice.
Yes,
even
we have prospectors timings.
So when you talk of civil service being bloated, of course it has to be bloated because that's the only source of creating jobs. Now, if the state government engages in businesses I mean, I'm from textile. We are marking 60 years anniversary of the first textile mill in Africa, actually. You know, Kaduna Textile Mill, set up by the late Premier, 1950. It was a state-led industrialization. You know, and I think federal too must also go into that. The idea that only private sector, they are there to make profit. They are not interested in, I mean, they can even make profit without producing anything. So states have to now seem to be involved in businesses. Now, on the last point, I listened to Aladi, and I agree with you. We have a lot of minerals, gold, you know, platinum, diamond, in all the states, virtually everywhere. But the greatest resource is actually human beings. If you know all these states that are hoeing, they are shooting themselves by the leg. Because if you don't pay workers, you won't get paid as you earn.
Of course.
You know, you can't even get, because workers are the great source of immediate payment.
That is true.
That goes to the state.
Taxation.
I was seeing on your screen just now. Workers say, you know, civil servants could not even watch this program because they have no money to pay for NEPA bill.
Oh, well.
So how will NEPA?
Well, okay, that's the tweet from one of the tweets we've yes.
But I'm telling you how workers themselves are the greater resource in terms of source of revenue.
Well, there it is right there. The tweet from Abdurrahman Lawal saying the affected civil servants could not watch this program due to blackout resulting from non-payment of their bills. They can't pay.
The lamp I want to raise on this, I think our governors have to know, just like any private businessman, have realized that the greater resource in an enterprise is your workforce. Train them, dignify them, pay them very well. Even the recent competency tests that some of these governors are doing, the way they celebrate, criminalize teachers, when they need sympathy, you know, you need to sympathize. I mean, how many governors can pass competency tests if Nigerians put them on any test? No, I'm serious. How many of them?
Very few.
But we tolerate them, we sympathize with them, we even re-elect them. Why wouldn't you treat your workers, you know, in that way? And these are not Ghanaians. These are not Rwandans. They are your own people. You know, talking of local governments, I mean, Kwara at one point, you know, you said they paid salary. You said we don't hold. We pay considerable only the local government. Local government, are they from Afghanistan? Employees, and this is where teachers are even employed in large bulk, especially for primary schools. You know, so I think we should have a perception that the greater resource is human resource. The first ministry to be established by the British in Nigeria, you know very, it's Ministry of Labour. Yes. 94, not Ministry of Solid Minerals, because you need human beings to even make solid minerals to work, railway to work. So, and smart countries of the world know that pay workers very well, you get the best result. You can even discipline them better. But now nobody can talk of any productivity.
Do we need to change labor laws regarding wages?
Oh, yeah.
Or would we say what we have is good enough?
What we have right now is not bad. It's just like the way to implement.
But it cannot address the situation at hand, can it?
Yeah, like I've said often, is that it's the will of the people, the will of the governors. They can't continue to say they don't have money. I don't believe that. And they can't continue to say that the civil services are bloated. It's not true. It's the way to pay. Like the Alhaji said, the law states that when you get the money, you remove first and foremost the salaries of workers. Then you can do, if you say you are building road, who are the people that go to drive on the road? It's not the workers, it's not the people.
Even there are no roads.
If you don't pay them, if you don't pay them, they cannot work for you. You can't generate money. So it's the will of the governors to implement the laws. It's the will of the governors to see their people as human beings. Just like that was what the president was saying, that he wondered if the governor can sleep, knowing that they have not paid the worker, because it's a moral issue. You should set out your priorities and follow it through. That is just the issue. I don't believe that any governor cannot pay salary in this country.
And because no governor is being held his own salary. I mean, they are
I don't believe that.
Even their security.
And I think as we started before,
and
even the only test says so, that a worker deserves his or her pay.
That's a quoting from the scriptures. Worker deserves his pay.
Like that. I mean, in fact, John Paul, you know, the second, you know, you had a quotable quote that, the best way to know an economic system is working is the way you reward your workforce.
That is true.
That is it.
On a final note, which way should the country look towards? Now we've said we've identified the diversification of the economy, a pruning down of wastes, plugging loopholes, cutting down on so many other things. But
luxury.
Luxury. And again, the question of white elephants, which people can point to easily and say, yeah, it's prioritizing.
Yeah. Well, we've said so before.
Once you have the discipline, accountability and transparency, and you have very strict application of procedures and processes,
right,
where you pay salaries first and then you don't do what is a wasteful expenditure, you should be able to pay your salary and pay your workers, and then with a little bit of discipline, you can save, and then with savings, you can go into infrastructure and into development.
Okay. At the last meeting the President held with the governors, where he asked them about this salary matter, some of the governors asked for more bailout funds. Do you think they should get more?
I think we need to bail ourselves out from some of these governors. What I'm saying so is that, you see, it's not just even the governors. You ask a question, what should be one way out? Even as we commend the federal government for paying salaries and wages, don't forget that even some allowances are not still being paid by the federal. So there is crisis of compensation everywhere. Now, the only way out, and I think Alhaji Ghana pointed to that, is that, you see, this dependency on oil, we have to diversify. Saudi Arabia just last week launched a big program on, thinking beyond oil. Of course, the United Arab Emirates, they've moved on. And I think what we need to do is to add value. We need to reindustrialize back. First, take workers from public service now to private sector, but you need labor-intensive industries. They have to be done so. There should be uninterrupted power supply to get it done. Instead of exporting yam, with apology to Chief Audu, which will get stranded somewhere along the line. Let's add value to yam, because what are the Americans doing to yam that we can do here? They're adding value. I mean, you can't replace yam with crude oil because you don't want to export raw material. I mean, we should have cotton, weave them, spin them. When you employ this army of workers, you have diversified. States will collect taxes. There's company tax. Workers will also pay taxes, and that's how Nigeria was built before. Nigeria never had problem with payments also because revenue goes into public purses.
I would like to add just a little bit to what Isa said. Agriculture, we're doing all the best we can with agriculture. The current minister and ministry are doing well. But we need to create back marketing boards.
Yeah.
Why we need the marketing boards is it's only the marketing board, one marketing board that can go abroad, get customers for cotton, granules, cocoa, or whatever agricultural product, rubber, whatever, come back, convert it to Naira, tell farmers at the beginning of the season what price will be paid for a crop. The farmers will do their economics, buy their seeds and their fertilizer, farm, pay labor, farm, and then they know at the end of the season somebody will come and buy this produce, package them properly, and send them abroad, and then encash the letter of credit. They will be, if you do that, you're going to get a standard variety, standard quality that the customers abroad are going to be looking forward to. If you have one marketing board doing granite, it means that all the granite is going to come out from Borno to Sokoto, down to Benue, to Kwara, would be meeting the same standard. So for cotton, so for cocoa, etc. With that, marketing boards come back, and if you have this surplus staff, surplus workers, you might as well transfer them into a marketing board, let them now organize this production and export and earn this income. And also raise revenue.
But that now means that these governors have to now face development issues.
Yeah. It's true.
The way you are putting on the way they are just
if I can just chip into what you have said.
Yeah.
In the Federal Ministry of Agriculture, with the collaboration of State Ministry of Agriculture, we developed agro-industrial blueprints with which we are supposed to industrialize all the nooks and crannies of the nation. with the raw material coming from our farmers to feed the factory and the final product going into distribution. And we thought of rice, we thought of, you know, vegetable oil, which we derive from, you know, cotton seed and granules and soya beans. So all these things, we had very good plans. Only at one stage or the other, people frustrated the plans. Even state governments gave land for us to develop the rice factory, such that we build similar factories as they have in Thailand, that is processing rice that are stone-free, that are impurity-free. And we even went, you know, further during the time of the immediate past Honorable Minister of Agriculture, additional to China, and China government gave us sovereign loan to build all these factories.
Okay.
But
well,
at the implementation stage, something went wrong.
Well, this is where we'll have to leave this discussion on this program, and to say a big thank you to all our guests. Would like to say thank you very much to Shettima Umar Abbagana, Acting Chairman, the Revenue, Mobilization, Allocation and Fiscal Commission. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And thank you to Mr. Nyamali John Audu, Acting Director, Trade Union Services and Industrial Relations, the Federal Ministry of Labor and Employment. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Well, our Moses Adewi Ulujo Iludueje, Kwara State. We thank you for coming, and it's always a pleasure to see you. This is about the third or fourth time that you've joined us on this discussion.
Thank you very much.
And we also thank, as usual, Comrade Isa Remu, always there for us. We'd like to thank you once again for being there for us as Secretary General of the Textile and Garment Workers Union, as well as Vice President, Industrial Global Union, as well as a member of NEC of the Nigeria Labour Congress. Thank you. And also thank you for being part of this program as well. Next week we'll reach you again on NTA Tuesday Live. I'm Cyril Stober. Bye for now.